Hello everyone, Mason the Brock Henderson here, and I decided to go a little bit different than what I originally planned. I thought I was going to do part 1 of season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, episodes 1 through 10, and then part 2, kind of like I did with the first season. But the truth is, as I was watching the second half of the season, building up, I realized I can't do that with this second season, and here's why. First of all, the season finale is massive. So much happens. It's a two-part season finale, and just so many storylines going on, and so much happens in the end. Um, and there's so much I need to talk about before we get to that, because there's several good points, and great points, in this second season. Um, so this is going to be all the episodes in the second half of the season before the season finale. The 2 episodes of the season finale. And so I have a little list of what episodes I want to talk about really fast. And so obviously you're going to start off with the season or the premiere of this second half of the season, Aftershocks. Um, and of course this is, typical. I don't want to say typical because you don't see it very often, but when some member of the team that you're following, when they experience something different, they experience something that changes them, it takes a bit to really come to grips about it. And so this is after what happened in the mid-season finale, where Trip has died. They found the alien city, and Skye went through the transformation, but they don't realize it. They saw that Raina had changed, or Skye did, but they don't really know what happened to her, and they're not sure what happened to Skye either. All they know is that Trip is dead, um, and everybody's taking it pretty hard. Uh, but slowly they start. What I really like about this episode is that it's kind of a build up. All the way until the very end. You feel the tensions building. They have arguments about Coulson and whether he's compromised because of what happened to him. They have arguments about what to do next. Several, just several moments of tension between, some of these new members of the team that just don't trust Coulson, and May, uh, Fitz, Simmons, all of them are trying to defend Coulson because they believe in him, and Mac is like, I don't, look, nothing personal, but I got infected with an alien, and now Trip is dead. So we need to think about this. And the whole time, Skye knows that she's been through a transformation. One second. Okay. I don't know, it was off center, it's bugging me. Um, but Skye's gone through the transformation. She knows she's different, but she's trying to keep her emotions in check so she doesn't cause an earthquake. And so I'm just going to touch on the different parts of this really fast. There are really two main storylines going on. You've got Skye and you've got S.H.I.E.L.D. versus Hydra. Skye's storyline, she's in this cage. They're analyzing her, trying to find out, was she affected when she went into that chamber. And so, doing DNA tests, all of this stuff. Simmons trying to figure it out. And Fitz finally gets a hold of her little watch that she's wearing. It looks like one of those Apple watches. It was measuring her heart rate and stuff like that. And he's trying to fix it. When he finally does, he finds out that her heart rate was 300 beats per minute when she was in there. He's like, that's not human. That's inhuman. You're like, first of all, this is my only nitpick in this whole episode. He calls it inhuman before we know what the word inhuman means. So I just thought that was a little bit too perfectly worded. But that's just a nitpick from me. But other than that, the way that they handle it is very nice because you can see everybody's worried about her, but they're handling it differently. Some of them are trying to comfort her. Bobby, makes a little, I guess, what would you call it? Like a little pack you get to take into isolation away from everybody, cards for solitaire, stuff like that. Uh, Gemma's working hard, trying to figure out what's going on. Fitz is working hard on the watch. Coulson is, talking to her, trying to just figure out what happened. And so Fitz, he finds out this about her heart beating that fast, and she's like starting to get upset because he knows, and you can see he's clearly upset. And once again, and I want to clarify because I said Ian de Kurdersacker, and it's like Ian de. I'm gonna have to look it up because I saw it and I was like, that's not what I said. Ian de Kesteger. I'm still probably pronouncing it wrong, but he really brings a lot to Fitz's role in this show. Fitz could have just been one of those sidekicks, the smart kid that gets picked on but does his job well. But you really feel for him, and first of all, through the whole first half of the season, he's been so damaged, and now he's come full circle and he's back. His brain power is back. He's still struggling from time to time, but he's able to do stuff again. He's able to work on stuff again. And to see just this effect of finding out that Skye has been affected, you see it in his face. You see, his eyes are watering up, and he's so upset because he's worried about Skye and what she's become. And Skye, of course, doesn't want him to find out and is worried, and all that emotion, she causes a light that's in her little isolation room to burst because of the quaking. And then, Fitz runs away, and you're like, oh crap, what's going to happen next? May and Simmons come to check up on her, and they see the glass and see that she's cut herself. And just before she's about to confess, Fitz steps in and says, oh, that was my fault. I was trying to do stuff. I was trying to do stuff in a hazmat suit and broke the lamp. It's my fault. And covers for her. And what happens next is this really touching scene that I remember the first time I saw it, I teared up. And watching it again, I teared up again because it's just so emotional. Like, he's in there picking up the glass, and he's faked her DNA results for Simmons. So Simmons thinks that nothing's wrong with her DNA. And when Simmons and May leave, he tells her that her blood is drastically different. And Simmons said something about Raina's blood, how it was different, and it's pretty much the same thing with Skye's blood, according to Fitz. And so he's in there, picking up the glass, talking to her about it. And, he pretty much explains he doesn't want them to know while everybody's so uptight about this whole alien thing. Trip just died because of whatever happened. And Simmons the whole time. This is one thing that bothers me for this first half or the second half of this season. Simmons is like completely changed from the first half. She's same old Simmons for most of the first half. She's undercover in Hydra, but she's pretty much the same Simmons. But after what happens with Trip, it's like she changes completely, and she's like out for revenge almost against alien stuff. Like she talks so much about we need to eradicate this alien disease or something like that, and stuff that Simmons wouldn't normally say, the Simmons that we know. But it felt like it was forced into the plot just so now Skye has a reason not to tell them what happened because she's scared because of everything that Simmons has been saying about eradicating this virus, it's a disease, all this stuff. And so, what Fitz does totally makes sense because he's scared for Skye's safety. But they just have this really touching moment where, like, when he tells her that he's trying to protect her, she gives him a hug, and she's crying, and she's just like, you're right, something's wrong with me. And he's like, no, you're all right, you're just different now. You're just different now, and that's okay. And just like, it got to me, I don't know why, but it made me tear up, and I'm like, Fitz, man, right here in the heart. But the other really great part about this episode, and really caught me by surprise when it happened, was the S.H.I.E.L.D. versus Hydra part. they start off, and you can tell there's a plan in place, and so they're taking Bakshi, the guy that they had prisoner, Whitehall's kind of right hand man, and they're taking him to the U.S. government, and along the way they get stopped by this truck, and May and Coulson get shot, and at this point you're like, okay, there's a plan going on, and sure enough, Hunter is the one that shot them, and he's taking Bakshi and telling Bakshi, we need to get in contact with Hydra. And so Bakshi gets a hold of List, who comes into play later, and tells him that he's out. And at that point, Hunter convinces him that Hydra wanted him to told Hunter to take him out. And so the plan ends up being Hunter, or Bakshi, convinces Hunter to take him back to Hydra, and they would work together. And he would be rewarded handsomely. So Hunter takes Bakshi back to Hydra's, where all the Hydra heads were meeting. Well, most of them at least. And what happens next? It happens simultaneously. May is talking to Skye, and Coulson is delivering the news to Tripp's mother about what happened. And she's telling him how what happened, Tripp was the embodiment of what Coulson wanted S.H.I.E.L.D. to be, the passion, the heart about it. And as she's talking to him, or as she's talking to Skye about this and telling her, one thing that Hydra lacks is compassion, Hunter has taken Bakshi back to this place. Bakshi's convinced this other head of Hydra that one of the heads had tried to get him killed. And so they take out 3 of the other heads of Hydra. And then, Bakshi tells him that there's a man out there waiting to be killed. And they try to, send men to go kill him. Bobby has shown up as well. And, of course, the car is prepared for this. So they take out the guys, and they go in, and they just take out everybody. And it's not just it's not like they just go in there and take people prisoner. The way the scene is shot is perfect, because May's talking to Skye about compassion and how Hydra doesn't have that, and you see Bobby and Hunter just taking all these people, and when they get to the head of Hydra that Bakshi was talking to, Hunter just puts a bullet straight between his eyes, and that's it. It's not like you expected there to be something. But no, it's this is Hydra, and when it comes to facing Hydra, you have to be ruthless. And that's why Hunter and Bobby are obviously on this mission, because they know how to be ruthless. I thought that was really nicely done, just how they really made the comparison to, Hydra. Hydra doesn't have compassion, so sometimes when you face them, you can't have compassion. You have to be ruthless, you have to just take them out. And it's ingenious, too, because they always talk about if you take out one head of Hydra, 2 more grow in its place. And so you had one head consume the other heads and then take that one out. And I'm just like, that's genius. That's just, I love how that worked. How they made that work. And it just shows how Coulson is really smart. But anyway, after that episode, you see, I thought they were going to do the Skye, hiding her powers thing for a bit longer, but the very next episode, you have Lady Sif return from Asgard, chasing down a Kree guy, and they find out about Skye's powers then. And, I really hate how Fitz gets kind of antagonized here by everybody. Nobody really stands up for him. Simmons is upset that he lied to her because they share everything. Max, saying that Skye is dangerous, and it's just nobody's really standing up for her. They're all so terrified of her, and it's obviously Coulson really wants to help her, but it's everybody else is just fitting into what Skye's dad was saying at the end of the first half of the season, that people aren't going to understand you and they're going to be scared of you. And I was hoping that maybe A couple more would kind of stand against that and be like, no, this is Skye. Um, but even Simmons, she says, but Skye's my friend, so it's different. But you still can see that she's trying to help Skye get rid of her powers and not, use them because her powers are a part of her now. So, um, let's see. Next, so there's that episode with Lady Sif and the Kree guy. They find out about the Inhumans and what they are. Um, and then the next one, Skye's dad gets together all these people off the Index to try to take down Coulson because he hates Coulson for killing Whitehall instead of letting him kill Whitehall. And he thinks that he's taken away Skye from him, that he's the reason why he can't see Skye. So he gets together all these people off the Index. Very, very good action in this one. But it's mainly just, once again, you get to meet May's ex-husband, Andrew, who turns out to be a psychologist, which was nice. But he starts working with Skye a bit. And you get to see this end where they fight the people off the Index. And of course, a couple of them have some really interesting powers. But the main thing is that Skye's dad gets kidnapped by this guy named Gordon, who also kidnapped Reyna. I should mention that too. But he's able to transport himself. But the downside is that he's blind. And so you kind of figure out that these Inhumans, whatever they are, whenever they change, there's always an inside change that happens. But it's not always on the outside, because obviously Skye looks the same, but Reyna and Gordon, Reyna's covered in spikes now after her transformation, and Gordon has this covering over his eyes. He's got no eyes, pretty much. So it's interesting to see the different changes in and out of people. So the next one, not as interesting. You see that Bobby and Mac are working for somebody else. Hunter kind of figures out that they're working on something different and tries to go to Mac about it, and Mac just pretty much kidnaps him, so he can't say anything. And you find out that they are working for the real S.H.I.E.L.D, which was founded. It was founded when S.H.I.E.L.D fell. Coulson met with Fury and obviously got Fury's toolbox, but there were other S.H.I.E.L.D members that survived that decided the reason that S.H.I.E.L.D fell was because of Fury's secrets and all the secrets that he kept, which they don't see the other side of the sword that, yeah, maybe secrets did help Hydra infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D, but at the same time, if he shared everything with everybody, S.H.I.E.L.D would have been demolished completely because then Hydra would have found out everything easily. That's why secrets should be kept, because you want the people at the very top to have the information. And if you shared all the information with everybody, well then, the lowest ranking member gets kidnapped and isn't used to interrogation tactics. Well, they're going to spill all the secrets because they know all the secrets. So, while I agree that secrets did hinder S.H.I.E.L.D. When Hydra infiltrated them, it's so obvious why secrets are important as well. And so I think the fact that they're so narrow-minded about it is kind of frustrating to listen. But at the same time, you kind of understand why they feel this way, because they don't know that Fury is still alive and that he put Coulson in charge and that everything that's been going on, they blame Coulson for a lot of it because of what happened with the Tahiti program and all of his brain being jumbled and all this writing that he did and forced him to go to the city. The Hydra was already looking for the city, and so even if he hadn't been infected with the alien DNA and started writing, Hydra would have been looking for the city anyway. So it's like they don't even pay attention to that part. But anyway, Love in the Time of Hydra is mainly just about Ward and Agent 33 and what happens to them. Because Agent 33 pulled him out of Puerto Rico and kind of nursed him back to health. And you can see that, she's growing attached to him, and working on the mask that changes facial appearances and stuff. Um, and so it's mainly about them. It's not 100% interesting, but it is important for later. So it is, it's still a good episode, but as far as, I guess, the action and the overall story, it doesn't do a whole lot. Uh, but it's still good. You find out about the real Shield, and Hunter meets all of them, and then he escapes, and that's pretty much the last thing that happens. Um, but then the next one door closes. This is one of the ones I want to talk about because it's very important, and I love the way they do this because they have, Coulson finds out about Mac and Bobby, and so they're trying to, it's pretty much an episode that they're trying to find out who they're working for. They're trying to capture them so they can interrogate them. And all the while, they're flashing back to when S.H.I.E.L.D. fell, and Mac and Bobby were on this carrier with Hartley and Gonzalez, who is the guy running the new S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, he's not the head guy, but he's one of the heads. But it's showing everything that happened on the aircraft carrier that they were on. Hydra infiltrating it, taking people out. And it's important because they ultimately end up pairing together, this new S.H.I.E.L.D. and, Coulson, his S.H.I.E.L.D. They pair together and work together in the end. And so it's important to understand why Gonzalez and Mac and Bobby and Hartley, why all of them feel this way about Coulson and his S.H.I.E.L.D. because of what happened on the aircraft carrier. They went through a lot, and it was bad. People and friends dying, or if they're not dying, they've turned on them. And ultimately, it ends with Fury gave Gonzalez an order to kind of destroy the ship, and it would have killed several innocent people, but instead Hartley and Bobby and Mac decide, no, we're going to protect the ship, we're going to take down Hydra inside the ship, innocent people are not going to die today. And that's kind of when Gonzalez realized, if I had listened to Fury, if I had taken his orders, people would have died. And so that's when he kind of started this new S.H.I.E.L.D. and thought to himself, I can't do that. I can't do that again. So it really helps to understand why. Why are they doing this? Well, here's why. And, there's also good action because we get to, first of all, flashing back to that day, you get to see them taking down Hydra's agents. But also, as they're searching for Mac and Bobby in present day, the Coulson and his team, really, really good action scenes. We get to see May and Bobby fight, which is really, a really interesting fight. Simmons even gets the chance to step up because Bobby finds her in the locker room, and Simmons pretends like she doesn't know what's going on, and then hands her these two things that put together knock her out, and just does it all like nonchalantly, like searching for stuff. Hang on, I'll find it eventually. Here, hold this, and then hold this, and then put them together, and it knocked her out. And she pulled out a gun. She's like, "Coulson, I got her." I'm like, "Oh, Simmons, she did it." So it was, it was a good episode, really, really good episode. And then followed by that is Afterlife, which it's another good episode, not as good as the last one, but now you learn more about where Skye is. So I love how they're kind of, one episode is focused mainly on S.H.I.E.L.D. and what's going on with them. They throw in some stuff about Skye, where she is now, this place, learning about. No, wait, I'm sorry. That doesn't happen until Afterlife is when she learns about this new place. One door closes. She's at this safe house pretty much, and it ends with Gonzalez's S.H.I.E.L.D. has taken over Coulson's S.H.I.E.L.D. and Coulson escapes, but he sends a team to go get Skye. And Skye, of course, being really scared, she uses her powers, which then scares her even more. So she calls for Gordon, and Gordon gets her and takes her. So this next episode, she learns about what this place is that she's been taken to. All these Inhumans are living there. She meets Lincoln, who, obviously becomes a major, not really major player. He becomes a very good character though, through the end of this season and even into the third season. Um, and she meets him. She sees that Raina's there, uh, and ultimately she meets her mother, and that's kind of the big point, is that her mother is still alive. And you're like, oh, that's interesting, because there aren't a lot of clues saying that her mother's still alive. You know Whitehall killed her, and so you're like, oh, well, that sucks that her mother's dead. And then you find out she's still alive because Cal, her dad, put her mom back together, and that's an interesting story. Uh, and Cal, of course, is struggling with this because he, he doesn't really belong there because he's not Inhuman, but he wants to see his daughter again, and he wants to be with his wife. So you kind of feel bad for him, and this is kind of where Skye starts to really, she starts to really understand why her dad is crazy. Stuff has happened. Um, but I can't. I think this one ends with finding out that Raina, she's been having these dreams, and she tells Lincoln about one of them, that you know Skye is eating with her dad and her mom, and there's a bouquet of daisies, and Lincoln like walks by the room and sees what she saw in her dream, and is like, it's not a dream, and so it kind of like catches you off guard for a second. You're like, oh. And actually, that may be this next episode, but basically, Skye's story for the next two episodes is just meeting her mother, finding out more about her powers, finding out more about Inhumans. But the next one is still one that just, to this day, like, I remember it because it just caught me off guard, completely off guard. It's Melinda, and of course, it's about Melinda May, the Cavalry, and why she became the Cavalry. Um, and in present day, Skye's learning about her powers, but she's talking to her mom because her mom is trying to explain the rules and why there are rules, and it's because of what happened in Bahrain with May. And then with May, as far as present day, I think she is. I'm trying to remember. I think she has taken up like a head position in the new S.H.I.E.L.D. Yes, she has. She's taken up a position in the new S.H.I.E.L.D. So somebody can side with Coulson, because at the moment all the other heads don't like Coulson very much. So she's kind of experiencing the fact that Coulson has kept some stuff from her about powered people, and so she's flashing back to this time when she had an experience with a powered person. And the story just is crazy because they're in Bahrain, and some of their people get taken prisoner, as well as the civilian girl that there's this Russian mob, and there's a Russian woman there who has powers, and so they send in a team, and then the team gets stuck inside there, and so May is like, I'll go in. So she goes in, and she finds her people who are just like zombies, and they just keep saying, I want your pain, and that's all they say. And so you're like, what's going on? And so she finds the Russian woman who has powers, and she keeps saying, I want your pain, I need your pain. And all the while, like, these henchmen are coming after May as well, and the Russian woman's like just really strong, so May is doing everything she can, and finally she kills the Russian woman. And right as that happens, Skye's mother starts talking about how this woman who it ends up being the Russian woman, had taken one of the diviners to put her daughter through the mist. And so these henchmen, more henchmen come out. May's been shot in the leg, and the woman is dead now, and they're still like coming after her. And she's like, what are you doing? She's dead. You're not under her control anymore. And then the little girl comes around the corner and says, I want your pain. and then she like, and those guys die, and you're just like, what the heck is going on? And it completely caught me off guard because I figured it had something to do with the girl. I figured maybe the girl died, maybe Maze, tried to save her and failed, and so just to see the fact that it's the daughter that is controlling these people, and to see her just, these guys come in and she just like raises her hand and drops it, and then the guys die, and you're just like, holy crap! And she just like is coming closer to May, and like has out her hand, and she's just like, please, I'm so scared. Take my hand. I don't want your pain. And you're, first of all, the little girl is a great actor. Like she really, I haven't seen many great child actors, but she was really good. And then of course she brings in the S.H.I.E.L.D. team, and May's just backing away, like, please don't do this. And she feels a gun behind her, and you're like, no. And sure enough, she kills the little girl, and you're just like, no wonder she doesn't want people calling her the Cavalry. Like this is heartbreaking. This is awful. And they tell the reason why, which is you understand why, because at the beginning the general's like, if everything goes wrong, I'll call in the cavalry. And so the guys are like, they have no idea what happened because they were all brainwashed by the little girl, and so they think that May just took out all the guys. And like, I guess they really did call in the cavalry. And Coulson doesn't know what's going on either, because all she says is just, I couldn't help her, I couldn't save the little girl. And so he doesn't even realize what happened. And so just to see that, you completely understand May and why she doesn't want to talk about what happened, why she has issues with powered people, why she doesn't want to be called the cavalry. And so it really hit hard. And I'm just like, that's deep. That is dark to go. Even for Marvel, that's that's like DC dark. So that episode really stuck with me. The next one is also interesting. Basically, it's just, May finds out that Simmons gives Fitz Fury's toolbox as he escapes. So Fitz gives the box to Coulson, and now they go and get Ward because they need Ward's help to infiltrate like what is it? It's a Hydra compound. One of the Hydra heads that got away, List, and Strucker. But they want to find out what they know about powered people because they know that they're also researching. So they use Ward because he has Bakshi, and Bakshi has now been mind controlled by him and Agent 33, who they kidnapped earlier. And so this one just, they send Bakshi with Deathlock, Mike Peterson. They send them in, and it's just Coulson, Hunter, and Fitz at this point with Deathlock. So it's like it's those four, and then they go get Ward and Agent 33, and so that that's the team now. And so finally, what happens is they do get Ward on board. And it ends, Skye has come back to, I don't even know where Afterlife is, like it's somewhere in the mountains. But with Gordon and her father, they go, and the plan is to leave her father there, put in place by her mother. And so she's trying to soften the blow so he doesn't go crazy. And Hydra shows up, kidnap Lincoln and Deathlock, and it looks like, Bakshi has done it, but he's just trying to maintain his cover, I guess. And then Skye and her father end up getting taken back to Afterlife by Gordon, but not before she sees Coulson and Ward working together. And so Coulson surrenders himself to Gonzalez, and that's where the next episode comes in, that they know where the Hydra base is, they know where they were taken. And so he's talking to Gonzalez, and he tells him, look, this could be our last chance to take out Hydra. And no matter what you and I have between each other, our main goal is to take out Hydra. That's the goal we share. And so this is the dirty half dozen. And I'm let me explain why I love this episode. The team is back. And you really didn't think that you wanted the team back at the time. Like, you just, the way, this is how I felt at least. The way the show was going, like, I had moved on. I was like, Ward's a traitor. But this episode brings it back. Raina has, she's had more visions, and she tells Skye and Gordon that she had a vision of Skye rescuing Lincoln from the Hydra base. And so Gordon delivers Skye to S.H.I.E.L.D. to help out. Ward has decided he's going to help out, and Coulson's got his team, the team back. Coulson, May, Ward, Skye, Simmons, and Fitz. And you're just like, I miss this. I really do. You don't even realize it until it happens. You're like, man, this was really fun. Why do I miss this? Like, Ward's a traitor. I don't want Ward back on the team, and yet I do. My feelings are all mixed up right now. And so, there are several good things that happen in this episode. For one, Ward is talking to them. Coulson tells him to, I guess, give them an update on Bakshi and his intel, what he's relayed to Ward. And he starts to talk, and then he looks back and sees all of them just like glaring at him. And so he starts he starts apologizing again. He's like, look, I can talk about how my parents messed me up. I can talk about this. But he seems very sincere. Like, he really seems upset that that he ruined the team. He says that. He says, the one thing that I do regret is that I messed this up. This was really fun. We did a lot of good stuff together. And, you kind of feel it a bit. And just because, just mainly because you're the audience and you're not actually experiencing anything that's going on in the show. But of course, everything that they've been through in the show, all these characters, they don't want to hear it. Ward gives like this kind of inspiring speech, and I miss this. I really hate that I messed this up. And kind of silence after, and then Skye pops up. I'm glad I shot you. Yeah, me too. And so it just kind of, it cuts off from the moment you're like, oh yeah, Ward's a traitor. Back to reality. We can't accept this. But they do infiltrate the Hydra base. A lot of good action. You see Skye use her powers for the first time, against an enemy, which was pretty cool. She has this one really just kick-ass scene where she takes out this whole room full of Hydra soldiers, and they did it all in one shot, which was incredible. She's like flipping over tables, taking out guys. At one point, she flips over a table, grabs a guy's gun, and shoots him and the guy behind him in one shot. And you're just like, holy crap, she's kicking butt. And once again, my crush for her just kept growing. But she does save Lincoln. Another interesting point, Simmons this whole time has kind of been hinting that she wants to kill Ward. When they delivered Ward in the first half of the season to his brother, he was talking to Skye. He was trying to talk to her, and Simmons like steps in front of her and says, "If I see you again, I will kill you." And so, she's kind of thinking back to that. She's talking to Fitz about, if I have a chance to get him alone, I think I'll do it. I think I'll put him down for the good of everybody. And so she finally has her moment where she has a chance to kill him. She has one of those disintegrating bombs that Hydra had, and Ward has his back turned, so she turns it on, steps around the corner, Bakshi cuts her off, and they fight for a second, and he pushes away from her, and you see it's in his chest, and so he disintegrates, and Ward has his gun trained on her, and so she can't do anything. She can't reach for a gun, and you're like, what's gonna happen? Like, is he gonna kill her? Like, what's... And he gets up close, and he's like, we're on the same team here. We're fighting the same battle. He kind of lowers his gun. He's like, I'm really disappointed in you, Gemma. And just walks away. And it's like, is he really good now? Like, has he really changed sides? What? what happened? Like, that's not the Ward I know. Um, and then finally, you see Coulson getting information from Hydra, and you find out that he's, it's not just taking down the Hydra base and saving Lincoln and uh, Mike. It's also he needs some information, and you're still not sure what. And so they finally, they infiltrate the base. They succeed in their plan, and they get out of there before S.H.I.E.L.D. comes and blows the base to smithereens. Um, I guess the other part worth mentioning in all of this is that they do sacrifice the bus, which was kind of also a sentimental thing. It's like the bus, and even May, like she's in the hangar in the next episode, and she's like, "I miss my plane." So it's like, yeah, me too. But if you think about it, mostly bad things happened on there. So another self-aware joke. Love them. Um, but I mean, this episode ends with leading into Avengers: Age of Ultron. The information that Coulson got was about Loki's scepter and where it's being held, and he finds out all the information about that. He is talking to Maria Hill. He gives Gonzalez the box and says, Director Fury may want that back when you see him again. Oh, spoiler alert, because everybody still thinks he's dead, of course. And so it's just all leading into Avengers: Age of Ultron, and Raina has a vision of the scepter, and then men made of metal coming to destroy our cities, and that everything will change. And of course it has after Age of Ultron. After what happened with Stark and what he did in Captain America, and it's like things are not the same. So that's how that episode ends, and finally, the last episode leading into the season finale, Scars. And this one this show keeps you guessing until the very end. Because what happens with Ward at the end of Dirty Half Dozen is he just gets away, and he calls Coulson and says, look, obviously they're not going to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness, but Kara, Agent 33 does. She's really a good person before Hydra infiltrated that base and took that away from her. So he wants them to give her a second chance, and he wanted to get away because he didn't want his memory wiped, which is what Coulson said would happen if that was pretty much his option for working with them, is you get to have your memory wiped, you can be who you wanted to be before what happened with your family and Garrett. And so, but Scars is, you have them setting up, it's right after what happened in Age of Ultron. You find out the Theta Protocol, which has been talked about this whole time. Gonzalez thinks it's like something with power people. You find out it's the helicarrier that was in Age of Ultron that saved all those people. And I don't know how critics or other people felt about this, but I thought that was genius. I was like, Theta Protocol, it's not a Deus Ex Machina if you've watched the show. If you haven't, then to most people, yeah, it may be a Deus Ex Machina. But they explain it in the show. It ties together. Theta Protocol makes sense. And I love how they tie things together. But it's right after that. And Gonzalez has decided that they need to find out about this, afterlife that Skye has told them about, where all these Inhumans are. And they need to find out whether these people are friends or foe. And so it's them setting up to have a sit down with Skye's mother, the leader of the group. And Raina, you still, like I said, it keeps you guessing. And here are the three things that I wasn't sure on. I'm done with that. Here are the three things I wasn't sure on leading up into this. One, you're not sure if Raina has actually had a vision of, her. She says that if Skye's mother talks with S.H.I.E.L.D., bad things will happen. Skye, Quinjets from S.H.I.E.L.D. raining down fire upon them and stuff like that. So you're not sure if she's telling the truth or if she's just saying this stuff to gain power, because even Cal says, she's very manipulative. And the way she told Skye that she would be the one to save Lincoln. and that convinced her to go. And Skye's mother sees that as, you used your powers to convince Skye and Gordon, to do this. And she's like, no, I just told them what would happen. So you're not sure if she's being manipulative or if she's actually seeing this stuff. Two, you're not sure if Ward is actually good, if he's doing all this stuff, if he's truly trying to make amends for everything he's done, because he keeps talking to Agent 33 about, I'm doing this all for you, and I'm doing this to help you find closure. Like, what does that mean? And finally, you're not sure what Skye's mother, what she's all about. Is she going to be accepting of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all of this stuff? Well, what ends up happening with Raina is Skye's mother, you think she's getting through to Gordon. You think Gordon believes her. But then Skye's mother comes in when she's talking to Gordon and says, you need to stop manipulating people. You're a liar, and you need to stop. And she has somebody else look after her so she can't get out while she's talking to S.H.I.E.L.D. With Ward, you see Bobby leave with May, but then May is in another Quinjet with Coulson, so you're like, wait, so who? And they cut back, and you realize that it's not May, it's Agent 33, it's Kara. And Kara reveals that Bobby had something to do with her being taken by Hydra, and they explain that later, so I'll get to that in the season finale. And so they fight for a bit, and then Bobby takes her down and steps out, and Ward is there with Icer and takes her down. So you're like, so he's not good. He did all this just to help Agent 33 infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D. so she could get to Bobby. Like, well, that's great. And finally, Gonzalez ends up going in the place of Coulson, which doesn't help their case with Skye, because she's like, how do I know I can trust him? I know I can trust Coulson, but Gonzalez, but he goes and meets Skye's mother, and you understand, he doesn't say anything offensive. He just, he basically says, look, S.H.I.E.L.D. exists to protect people, and I want to understand you guys. I want to get to know your people, so that if anybody does, good people get powers, but bad people do too. So if anybody decides to try to harm other people, we can be ready for it. He says, we even brought you a welcoming gift. And you're like, oh crap, what'd you do? And Skye's mother opens it up, and it's like this little Chinese, I don't even know, it's like a symbol. It's these little circle things. And basically it's like a Chinese thing that is used to ward off demons. And she was going to give it to Skye, but she didn't have a chance to because of what happened with Whitehall. And Whitehall ended up taking it from her, and that's where they found it. They found it in his office. And you're just like, man, that's Gonzalez, that's good of you. You brought that, and you really feel like, this is going well. And she's like, I have a gift for you too. And she goes to grabs like this cloth thing, and she talks about how the diviners, if they got broken, they wouldn't have a way to, handle their powers. They wouldn't have a mist to walk through. And so she talks about how they melted down the diviners, but the metal is still in these Terrigen crystals. And she smacks it on the desk, and just it poofs into smoke. And you see Gonzalez start to shake, and he starts turning to stone. And she's like, how dare you compare your scars to mine? And you see that you finally realize she's totally psychotic. She grabs his gun from him and shoots herself twice in the shoulder. And you're like, holy crap, she's a bad guy. I honestly... And there's nothing that really clues you into this either. You may be able to piece certain parts together after you find out she's a bad guy. You can look at these certain scenes and you're like, okay, now that makes sense. But there's nothing really to say, look guys, she's bad, she's evil, don't trust her. You really believe most of what she's saying. And so when this happens, because of everything Gonzalez says, he seems like he's really getting through to her, it just comes out of nowhere, and you're like, why? And so Gonzalez dies. She shoots herself twice and blames Gonzalez and says, "This is war," and then collapses. And that's how that ends. They have one more scene with Ward and Agent 33. You're having Bobby tied up and talking about closure, uh, and how this isn't closure. Just shooting her and killing her wouldn't be closure. You have to make her experience it. So, um, but that's the second half of the season leading up into the season finale. So much has gone on. You found out more about Skye and her family. You met her mother. You found out a lot about her dad, and that he's not just some monster. He really does have these horrible experiences that happened to him. And you found out what happened to Bahrain. All of this stuff going on. All these choices they're making. Ward, what happens with him? They could have just made him back into a good guy once again, gone the redemption route, but no, they're not. He's still a psychopath. He's still helping Agent 33 to do these evil things. And so the clever choices that they've made with these characters is really what helps this show so much. Um, but that's pretty much it for the second half of the season. Besides the season finale, and that one has a lot to talk about as well. So I guess I'll watch that now and maybe have time for review. If not, I'll see you guys in the next one. So, peace out.